Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we're going to do a lineup mashup of the college football week one. We have 6 games in the slate today, and we have a pretty good solid slate of games. I've gone through all the teams. I've researched to the best of my ability to find players that are going to be starters at each of the positions. One thing I want to mention is how DraftKings works for scoring for college football. We have quarterbacks, running backs, 3 wide receivers, a flex position, and an S flex position. In the flex position, you can put an extra running back or wide receiver, and then the X flex, you can actually put any positional player, quarterback, running back, or wide receiver in that position. So we probably are going to want to try to utilize quarterbacks for the most part in that position and running backs on occasion, just because those guys are going to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to fantasy points. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the players. I have 5 quarterbacks listed here. Um, I like all 5 of them pretty good for the situation that they're in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Austin Reed for Western Kentucky. He has been named the starting quarterback, which is something I've been, for each of these teams, I tried to find information to confirm that that was the case. And he has a really good amount of wide receivers that are going to give him a good chance to score a lot of points. And his team is projected to score quite a few points in the 40s. So we definitely like that. Our next quarterback is going to be Jordan Travis for the Florida State Seminoles. He's actually on the Maxwell Award watch list, so he's probably my top quarterback of the day. I really like what he looks like, especially considering he had a good year last year with 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. So he has the potential to come in and really just take over and kind of expand on what he did last season. Then the next guy is Logan Bonner of Utah State. I am pretty certain that this guy is going to be the starting quarterback. I couldn't find a guarantee of that, but I could find a report where he was named the top quarterback in his conference, and Utah State is projected to score in the 40s, so that gives him a pretty good shot at being a pretty good quarterback. And then the next one is Casey Thompson. He has been named the starting quarterback. He had a really good last year at Texas, and he's now at Nebraska. And as you can see with his numbers, 2,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He should slot into Nebraska and hopefully be a pretty quality quarterback right after the bat. So I definitely like him. And then finally, we have Tommy DeVito for Illinois. He has also been named the starting quarterback. He's actually a transfer from Syracuse, or sorry, yeah, from Syracuse to Illinois, where last year, for over his 26 games with Syracuse, logged 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. So we're definitely going to look for him to continue that onslaught of yards for Illinois. I will add that Illinois is got the lower scoring potential for today with only 20-something points on the Vegas odds, but I still think he's a solid option with the price point that he's at. But I definitely like the top 4 the most, Jordan Travis being the top pick for me at this time. So that's my quarterbacks. Obviously, you're going to have to pay up a little bit for quarterbacks to really get a good, solid chance to score a lot of points, and that's pretty much what I have there. So for running back, I'm going to give you, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guys that we can look at, and we have a couple cheap guys that you're going to really want to take a look at to potentially use. That's also true for wide receiver, for wide receiver. But let's go ahead and get into the running backs. So my top overall running back is Calvin Tyler Jr. He ran for 884 yards last season with 7 touchdowns. He's playing for Utah State, and they're set to score some points, and so we definitely kind of like what he has, potentially from a running perspective, and he does run the ball quite a bit, so we pretty much like him, and he's going to be my top running back for the day. The next guy is going to be Chase Brown for Illinois. He had a really good year with 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. He is going to get more attempts probably than Calvin Tyler, but I think both of them are a really good option. But like I said, Illinois is a little bit riskier because they're not really scheduled to score as many points as some of the other teams. And then Kyle, and I don't know how to say his last name, so just bear with me on that one. For Western Kentucky, he's probably not gonna be the guy that gets a ton of attempts, because they're gonna be more of a passing team. But he does occasionally get some receptions, and he's actually gotten a couple touchdowns last year on that. So you could target him if you wanted to do that. And then another guy is Evan Hall for Northwestern. Last year he had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. Now his team isn't scheduled to score a whole lot of points. Obviously going against Nebraska is going to be a little bit harder for Northwestern. But he does typically get some attempts, and he does have some touchdown potential in this game. I think I saw for last season that he had a couple games, even against good teams, that he did pretty well. So, yeah, so he did okay against Illinois and Purdue and Minnesota, and Iowa even did a little bit okay. So, 25 fantasy points against Iowa is nothing to sneeze at. And he does get some receptions, which definitely helps him. Then the next guy is going to be, let's see here, Trayshawn Ward for Florida State. He does seem like he's going to be the better of the two running backs for Florida State. Just keep in mind that they have another guy who I've also targeted here, which is Toa Philly, I guess, or Toa Phil, Lawrence Toa Phil. He's a little bit less expensive, but he seems like he's the number 2 guy, and it seems like that they're probably going to use him some as well. So just be aware of that. If you choose to roster Ward, you might be giving a few extra to the backup in that particular matchup. And then for Wyoming, we have a pick here. Where is he? $6,000. Titus Ween. He had 785 yards last year, and he looks like he's going to be the starter as far as I can tell. He's not going to get as many attempts or receptions, but he still has some upside, and he's pretty inexpensive at $6,000. Though his team isn't scheduled to score a whole lot of points, but if they do, you can bet it's going to come from him. And then the next guy is from Nebraska, and that is Ramir Johnson. He's $5,400, and he definitely has some potential with the fact that he gets some receiving yards as well as rushing attempts, and he's going to have the opportunity to score points in this matchup. So I do think that he's a pretty solid choice, and he's only $5,400, and they are scheduled to score enough points that are going to make him potentially worthwhile. And then my second to last pick is $5,200 is Josh Samuel for Austin Peay. Now, obviously, he has a little bit of a tougher matchup, but he does get some rushing attempts and receptions last season, and he ran for 700 yards. So he definitely has some potential here to score some points for you. And, he's pretty inexpensive, so we definitely like that. But I sort of have a steal, which I am kind of shocked that this guy is as cheap as he is. And it is Aiden Robbins for UNLV. Now, he's listed as a starting running back, and he was transferred from Louisville, and he's a big back, and he can score points. And he even scored at Louisville. So I think against Duke is what it's showing here. So I think that this guy might be kind of a steal for this team. And for his price point of $3,300, he's really going to give you a lot of ability to really get other guys in the lineup, especially the quarterbacks you want. He's really going to help you achieve that. So that's what I have at running back, and so, keep those guys in mind. I think Aiden Robbins is going to be the steal for UNLV. For his price point especially, he doesn't have to score a ton of points to really get you where you need to go. So that's what I have for that. For wide receiver, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 guys, and I have one cheap guy as well, just like I had at running back. And so let me go ahead and get into these particular players. My first pick is going to be how do I say this guy's name? Malachi Corley. Okay, sorry. I had it written down wrong. Anyway, he's at Western Kentucky. I feel like that they're going to be scoring the ball, and he's going to have the opportunity to be like the top tier wide receiver for the Hilltoppers, and so he's definitely a good look, and they're definitely set to score a lot of points. My second pick is Micah Pittman. He is also kind of look like he's going to be the top pick for Florida State, and even though he didn't have a lot of receptions last year, he looks like he's going to be the top guy. And so with Florida State's scoring ability and Vegas total, I look for him to get some of those points. the next, see here, the next guy is going to be Isaiah Williams for Illinois. Now, keep in mind again that they're not going to score as many points as some of the other teams, but he definitely has some upside. He's had 500 plus yards last season, and he did get some touchdowns and stuff against some pretty decent teams. So look for him as a option at wide receiver. As we start to get a little bit cheaper, we have a $6,800 guy and Justin McGriff. Again, I couldn't find a whole lot about their depth chart at Utah State, but they do plan to score some points, and he had 6 touchdowns last year, and I expect that he will try to improve on that this season. And then the next guy is going to be the second wide receiver at Western Kentucky, which is Jalen Hall. He had a really good year last year with 752 yards, and he's probably moved up the depth chart a spot. And so we got to look for him to get 4 or 5 receptions and 50 to 100 yards in this game, and hopefully a touchdown. And if he can do that, then he's definitely going to pay off at his pretty inexpensive price at $6,600. Then the next guy that we like is Kyle Williams for UNLV. He actually has a little more upside for yards, and if they can score touchdowns, then he's probably going to be the main guy. He is listed as a starter for the team, so we definitely like that as well. He was he is the guy that's supposedly on track to be the leader in yards and catches and touchdowns, so we definitely like him as an option. And then we have Trey Palmer from Nebraska, who again isn't going to score as many points as some of the other teams, but they do have a good quarterback, and we feel like that they're going to be in pretty good shape, and he has the potential to be the number 1 guy. And then I've got 2 guys left. Brian Cobbs for Utah State. He is going to be the second wide receiver, it looks like. So he's going to have the potential to get 3 or 4 receptions a game and try to get a couple touchdowns out of that. And then my steal, and this guy's actually just as surprising, I think, as Aiden Robbins was from UNLV at running back, is Dawood Davis. He's only $4,800, and even last season, he had 760 yards and 8 touchdowns, and I definitely like those numbers, and I think that, he's going to be the third wide receiver, but he definitely has the ability to score touchdowns and get yards, and so I actually like 3 wide receivers from Western, which it really does make me like their quarterback as well. I just think that they're going to have a really solid shot, and he's just too cheap to pass on with his past production. So I do think that we have a really good, solid group of players. If you have any comments or questions, or you feel like I left any players out that you think that might be useful, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments, and have a nice day, guys.